The Zephyrian ship Gentle Current drifted through the dark space between stars. Its hull was broken in many places. Air leaked out through the cracks, the lights inside flickered on and off. The ship was dying. Captain Veltar stood on the bridge and looked at the damage reports. His blue skin was pale with worry. His forearms moved quickly over the control panels. Nothing worked properly anymore. The life support systems were failing. The engines barely had power. They had been running for weeks now. Running from death. Behind him, Navigator Karen worked at her station. Her young face showed fear. She was only third caste, but she was the best navigator they had left. Most of the crew was dead now, killed when the hegemony attacked their homeworld. "Captain," Kiran said softly. "I have something on the sensors." Valtar turned to look at her screen. There were ships ahead of them, big ships, powerful ships. His heart sank when he saw the markings. "Humans," he whispered. The word made everyone on the bridge freeze. Even the injured crew members stopped moaning. Humans were the most feared species in known space. They came from a world so dangerous that most aliens could not even imagine it. A death world where everything tried to kill everything else. The stories about humans were terrible. They said humans were born fighting. They said human children played games that would kill adult aliens. They said humans ate poison for fun and thought pain was entertainment. They said humans never gave up, never surrendered, never showed mercy. "What do we do?" asked Kiran. Her voice shook. Veltar looked at his screens. Behind them, the hegemony hunter ships were getting closer. The hegemony had already destroyed 47 worlds. Billions of peaceful beings were dead. The hegemony called them vermin. Pests to be eliminated. His own world of Zephyr Prime was gone. The beautiful crystal cities were ash. The singing forests were burned. The children were all dead. Only 847 Zephyrians were left alive in the whole galaxy. They were all here on this broken ship. "Captain," the communications officer called out. "The hegemony ships are sending a message." "Let me hear it," Valtar said. The voice that came through the speakers was cold and mechanical. It spoke the common galactic language with no emotion. "Attention fleeing vermin, you will stop your ship. You will prepare to be boarded. Your extinction has been delayed long enough. The galaxy must be cleansed of your weakness." Veltar closed his eyes. The hegemony would not just kill them quickly. They would torture them first. They would make them suffer for running away. They would record it and send it to other worlds as a warning. He opened his eyes and looked at the human ships again. Maybe the stories were wrong. Maybe humans were not as bad as everyone said. Or maybe they were worse. But at least with humans, death might be quick. "Send a distress signal to the human ships," he ordered. The communications officer stared at him. "Captain, are you sure?" "Do it," Veltar said firmly. The officer's hands shook as he worked. The signal went out into space. It carried their identification, their position, and a simple message. "Help us." For long minutes, nothing happened. The human ships continued on their course. They were still far away, but getting closer. Behind them, the hegemony ships were also getting closer. Then the human ships changed direction. They turned toward the Gentle Current and began to speed up. "They are coming toward us," Kiran said. "All of them." The human fleet was bigger than Veltar had first thought. There were 12 ships. The largest one was huge. It was bigger than most space stations. It had weapons mounted all over its hull. Weapons that could destroy planets. "Incoming transmission," the communications officer said. "It is from the humans." "Put it on the screen," Veltar ordered. The view screen flickered and then showed a human face. Veltar had never seen a human before. The story said they were monsters, but this one looked almost normal. It had only 2 arms and 2 eyes. Its skin was the color of tree bark. It had short dark hair and wore a uniform covered in symbols. But when the human spoke, its voice was strong and confident. It did not sound afraid of anything. "This is Admiral Sarah Chun of the Terran Fleet. We received your distress signal." "What is your situation?" Veltar stepped forward. He had to try to speak the human language. It was harsh and difficult for Zephyrian throats. I am Captain Veltar of the refugee ship Gentle Current. We are the last survivors of the Zephyrian people. We are being hunted by the Hegemony Empire. Our ship is badly damaged. We request asylum. The human admiral's expression changed. Her eyes became cold and hard. For a moment, Veltar thought she was angry at them. Then he realized she was angry at something else. How many survivors? She asked. 847 souls, Veltar replied. And these hegemony ships? How many are pursuing you? 23 hunter-killer vessels. Kiran called out from her station. The human admiral looked at someone off-screen. She spoke quickly in the human language. Veltar could not understand the words, but the tone was clear. The humans were planning something. Captain Veltar, the admiral said. I am Admiral Chen of the Earth Defense Fleet. By the authority of the Terran Federation, I grant you and your people emergency asylum. We are moving to intercept your ship now. Prepare for emergency docking procedures. Veltar could not believe what he was hearing. The humans were going to help them. The most dangerous species in the galaxy was offering protection to refugees. Admiral, he said carefully, you should know that the hegemony considers us criminals. They will not negotiate. They will attack anyone who helps us. The human admiral smiled. It was not a nice smile. It showed her teeth. Veltar remembered that humans were predators. That smile was the expression of a hunter who had found prey. Let them come, she said simply. The transmission ended. The human fleet spread out into battle formation. They moved between the Gentle Current and the approaching hegemony ships. The largest human ship came alongside the refugee vessel. Captain, Kiran said quietly, look at their weapons. Veltar looked at the human ship through the viewports. The weapons were unlike anything he had ever seen. They were crude and simple, but they looked incredibly powerful. The humans had mounted kinetic cannons that fired solid metal at near light speed. They had missile launchers that could carry nuclear warheads. They had beam weapons that could cut through asteroid metal dot, but the strangest thing was how many weapons they had. Every surface of the ship seemed to be covered in guns. The humans had built their ships for one purpose: war. Docking tube extending, the navigation officer reported. Through the viewport, Veltar could see the human docking tube reaching out toward their ship. It moved with mechanical precision. When it connected, there was a solid thunk that echoed through the hull. Docking complete, the officer said. The humans are requesting permission to come aboard. Veltar took a deep breath. This was it. They were about to meet the Deathworld devils face to face. Stories said that humans were twice the size of most aliens, that they had claws and fangs, that they could crush metal with their bare hands. Permission granted, he said. The airlock door opened with a hiss. The first human to come through was wearing a white uniform with strange symbols on it. Behind the human came others carrying medical equipment. They moved quickly but carefully. The first human removed its helmet. Veltar was surprised to see that it looked much like the Admiral on the screen. It was smaller than the story said. It had normal hands without claws. Its teeth were white but not fangs. I am Dr. Morrison, the human said in careful galactic. Common. We are here to help. How many of your people are injured? Most of them, Veltar replied. We have been in space for weeks. Many are sick from radiation. Some are dying. The human doctor nodded and began giving orders to the other humans. They spread out through the ship with their medical equipment. Veltar watched in amazement as they began treating Zephyrian patients. Without hesitation, the humans worked with incredible speed and efficiency. They carried the most injured Zephyrians through the docking tube to their own medical facilities. They gave medicine to those who could stay. They worked to fix the life support systems. Captain, Dr. Morrison said as he worked, your people need better medical care than we can provide here. Admiral Chun has ordered that all survivors be transferred to our ships immediately. All of us? Veltar asked. All of you, the doctor confirmed. We will not leave anyone behind. As the evacuation continued, alarms began sounding on both ships. The hegemony fleet had arrived. Through the viewports, Veltar could see the Enemy ships approaching. They were sleek and silver. They moved in perfect formation. Each one was twice the size of the human ships. They had energy weapons that could destroy cities. They had shields that could stop most attacks. "This is Admiral Chun," came the voice over the ship's communication system. "All Zephyrian civilians are to be transferred to the medical bays immediately. This is not a request." The humans began moving even faster. They carried Zephyrians who could not walk. They used anti-gravity stretchers for the injured. They worked together like a single organism. "Captain," Kieran said as she was helped toward the docking tube, "look at the humans." Veltar looked around at the rescue workers. They were not afraid. They should have been terrified. The hegemony fleet was much larger than the human fleet. The hegemony had better weapons and better shields. Any sane species would surrender or run away. But the humans were not running. They were not surrendering. They were working to save every single Zephyrian life while preparing for a battle. They might not win. As Veltar was escorted through the docking tube, he heard Admiral Chun's voice again. She was speaking to the hegemony fleet. "This is Admiral Sarah Chun of the Terran Federation. Defense Fleet. You are approaching ships and personnel under our protection. Turn around and leave this system immediately." The hegemony response came quickly. The same cold, mechanical voice they had heard before. "Human vessels. You are harboring criminals scheduled for extermination. Surrender them immediately or be destroyed along with them." There was a pause, then Admiral Chun replied, "Come and take them." Veltar was rushed into the human medical bay as the ships began to separate. Through the viewport he could see the human fleet moving into attack positions. They were outnumbered 3-1. Their ships were smaller and older. They should have been afraid. Instead, they looked eager for the fight. As Dr. Morrison began treating Veltar's radiation sickness, the captain realized something that changed everything he thought he knew about humans. They were not monsters who enjoyed causing pain. They were protectors who would rather die than let innocents be harmed. The galaxy had been wrong about humans. They were not the most dangerous species because they were evil. They were the most dangerous species because they were good. The human medical bay was unlike anything Captain Veltar had ever seen. The walls were pure white and covered with strange machines. Bright lights hung from the ceiling. The air smelled of chemicals that made his nose burn. Everything looked clean, but somehow dangerous. Dr. Morrison helped Veltar onto a flat bed that was too hard for Zephyrian comfort. The human wore a white mask over his mouth and strange coverings on his hands. To Zephyrian eyes, he looked like he was preparing for torture. "Please stay still," Dr. Morrison said. "I need to scan your body for radiation damage." A machine moved over Veltar, making soft beeping sounds. The captain tried not to move, but his forearms kept shaking. He had heard stories about human medical practices. They said humans cut into living bodies with sharp knives. They said humans replaced healthy organs with mechanical parts. They said humans used poison as medicine. Around him, other Zephyrians were being treated by human doctors. Their cries of fear filled the medical bay. The humans spoke in soft voices, trying to calm them, but the refugees did not understand. To them, the humans looked like creatures preparing to feast. "Your radiation levels are very high," Dr. Morrison said as he looked at his scanner. "We need to start treatment immediately." "Treatment?" Veltar asked weakly. "Medicine that will help your body fight the radiation sickness," the doctor explained. "It may make you feel worse before you feel better." The human filled a device with clear liquid. Veltar watched in horror as the doctor approached with what looked like a weapon. It had a sharp point at the end. "This will only hurt for a moment," Dr. Morrison said. The needle went into Veltar's arm. He expected terrible pain, but it was just a small sting. The medicine went into his blood. Almost immediately he began to feel strange. His stomach hurt and his head felt dizzy. "The nausea is normal," the doctor said. "Your body is fighting the radiation now." Across the medical bay, a young Zephyrian was crying. She was only a child, maybe 10 cycles old. Her parents had died in the hegemony attack. She was alone and afraid. Veltar watched as a human nurse approached the child. The nurse was smaller than Dr. Morrison. She had long yellow hair and kind eyes. She knelt down next to the child's bed. "Hello, little one," the nurse said gently. "My name is Sarah. What is your name?" The child looked at her with wide, frightened eyes. She did not speak. The nurse reached into her pocket and pulled out something small and colorful. It was a toy of some kind. A small animal with soft fur and button eyes. "This is a teddy bear," the nurse said. "On my world, we give these to children when they are scared. Would you like to hold him?" The child reached out slowly and took the toy. She pressed it against her chest. For the first time since coming aboard, she stopped crying. "That is better," the nurse said with a smile. "Now, can you tell me your name?" "Sila," the child whispered. "That is a beautiful name, Sila. Are you hungry? I have some special food that children from many worlds can eat." Veltar watched this interaction with growing amazement. The stories about humans said they ate. They're young. But this human was being gentle and caring with an alien child. She was acting like a parent, not a predator. Dr. Morrison noticed him watching. "Nurse Chun is very good with children," he said. "She has 3 of her own back on Earth." "Earth?" Veltar asked. "Our home world," the doctor explained as he checked another machine. "What humans call a Class 12 Deathworld. Everything there tries to kill you. How do you survive?" Veltar asked. Dr. Morrison smiled. "We learn to be tougher than everything else." The medical bay doors opened and Admiral Chun entered. She still wore her military uniform, but now she also wore one of the white masks. She walked between the beds, checking on the Zephyrian patients. "Dr. Morrison," she said when she reached Veltar's bed, "how are our guests?" "Most will recover. With treatment," the doctor replied. "But they have been through terrible trauma. Not just physical, many have lost their entire families." The Admiral's face became hard. The hegemony will answer for this. She turned to Veltar. "Captain, I need to ask you some questions about the enemy fleet. Can you tell me about their weapons and tactics?" Veltar tried to sit up, but Dr. Morrison gently pushed him back down. "The hegemony has 40 ships in their main fleet," he said. "Each ship carries plasma cannons that can destroy a city. They have energy shields that can stop most weapons. Their tactics are simple. They surround a planet and bombard it until nothing lives." "What about their ship's weaknesses?" Admiral Chun asked. "Weaknesses?" Veltar was confused. "They have no weaknesses. That is why they have conquered so many worlds. No one can fight them and win." The Admiral exchanged a look with Dr. Morrison. To Veltar's surprise, neither human looked worried. "Captain," Admiral Chun said, "every ship has weaknesses. Every enemy can be defeated. It is just a matter of finding the right approach." "But they are too strong," Veltar protested. "They destroyed our homeworld in hours. Our defense fleet could not even scratch their shields." "What weapons did your defense fleet use?" the Admiral asked. "Energy beams and plasma missiles," Veltar replied. "The most advanced weapons our science could create," Admiral Chun nodded. "Energy weapons. That explains their strong shields. They are designed to stop energy attacks." She pulled out a small device and showed Veltar a picture. It showed one of the human ships. The weapon systems were clearly visible. "These are kinetic cannons," she explained. "They fire solid metal at very high speed. No energy shields can stop a chunk of tungsten moving at 10% of light speed." Veltar stared at the image. "You still use physical projectiles? That is so primitive." "Sometimes primitive works better than advanced," Admiral Chun said with a smile. "We also use nuclear missiles, particle beams, and good old-fashioned explosives." "But why so many different weapons?" Veltar asked. "Because different enemies require different solutions," the Admiral replied. "The hegemony is used to fighting species that use similar technology. They are not prepared for humans." Through the medical bay windows, Veltar could see space. The hegemony fleet was still approaching. 23 silver ships moving in perfect formation. They looked beautiful and terrible at the same time. "Admiral," Dr. Morrison said quietly, "we should move the patients to the intersections of the ship." "Already ordered," Admiral Chun replied. "All civilians will be in the most protected areas during combat." She looked back at Veltar. "Captain, I want you to know something. Your people are under our protection now? That means we will fight to defend them. We will not surrender them. We will not abandon them, even if it means your own ships are destroyed?" Veltar asked. "Even then," she said firmly. "That is what protection means." The ship's communication system activated. A voice spoke in the human language. Admiral Chun listened and then translated. "The Hegemony fleet has sent another demand for surrender," she said. "They are giving us 1 hour to hand over all Zephyrians. What will you do?" Veltar asked. "We already told them our answer," the Admiral replied. "Now we prepare for battle." She started to leave, but Veltar called out to her. "Admiral, why are you helping us? Your species has no connection to ours. You gain nothing by protecting refugees." Admiral Chun stopped and turned back. For a moment, her expression softened. "On our world, there is an old saying," she said. "The only thing necessary for evil to triumph is for good people to do nothing. The hegemony is evil. They destroy innocent lives for no reason except hatred. We cannot let that continue." She paused and looked around the medical bay at all the injured Zephyrians being cared for by human doctors and nurses. "Besides," she added, "you are not just refugees anymore. You are our responsibility now, and humans take care of their own." After the Admiral left, Dr. Morrison continued working on Veltar. The captain watched the human medical team treating his people. They worked with skill and compassion. They did not treat the Zephyrians like aliens or enemies. They treated them like patients who needed help. At the next bed, an elderly Zephyrian was dying. The radiation had damaged his organs too badly. Dr. Morrison went to him and spoke quietly. "I am sorry," the doctor said. "We cannot save you, but we can make sure you do not suffer." The old Zephyrian nodded weakly. Will you make sure the young ones are safe?" "I promise," Dr. Morrison said. "They will be protected." The doctor gave the dying Zephyrian medicine for the pain. He stayed with him until the end, holding his hand. When it was over, the doctor closed the old one's eyes and spoke words in the human language. It sounded like a prayer. Veltar realized that humans honored their dead, even alien dead. This was not the behavior of monsters. Young navigator Kiran was at a bed near the wall. A human Marine sat next to her. The Marine was a female with dark skin and short black hair. She wore armor that made her look dangerous, but her voice was gentle. "My name is Sergeant Santos," the Marine said. "I heard you are a navigator. That is important work." "Was important," Kiran replied sadly. "Now I have no ship to navigate." "You could learn to navigate human ships," Sergeant Santos suggested. "Our star charts are probably different from yours." "You would trust an alien to navigate your ships?" Kiran asked. "Why not?" The sergeant replied. "Skills are skills. If you can plot a course through space, the species does not matter." Kiran looked surprised. "But we are so different from humans." Sergeant Santos laughed. "You have not seen different until you meet the other species in human space. We have insectoid allies who think in hive minds. We have energy beings who do not even have bodies. We have artificial intelligences that live in computer networks. And they all work together?" Kiran asked. "Of course," the sergeant said. "Diversity makes us stronger. Each species brings different skills and perspectives." She leaned closer to Kiran. "Want to know a secret? Humans are not the scariest species in our alliance. That honor belongs to the VRRK. They are spider-like creatures the size of shuttlecraft, but they make excellent engineers." Kiran's eyes went wide. "Spiders the size of shuttlecraft?" "Giant friendly spiders," Sergeant Santos corrected with a grin. "They love to build things. And they make excellent tea." Despite everything, Kiran giggled. It was the first time any Zephyrian had laughed since the attack on their homeworld. The ship's alarm system activated. A voice spoke in the human language. All hands to battle stations. All hands to battle stations. This is not a drill. Dr. Morrison immediately began securing equipment. The nurses moved quickly to make sure all patients were safely strapped to their beds. "What is happening?" Veltar asked. "The hegemony fleet has opened fire," Dr. Morrison replied. "The battle has begun." Through the windows, Veltar could see flashes of light in the distance. Energy beams and explosions lit up the darkness of space. The human ships were moving to engage the enemy. Despite his fear, Veltar felt something he had not felt in weeks. Hope. The humans were fighting for his people. They were risking their own lives to protect strangers from another world. Maybe, just maybe, they had a chance. The first explosion shook the entire human ship. Captain Veltar felt the vibration through his bed in the medical bay. The lights flickered for a moment and then came back on. Emergency lighting began flashing red along the walls. Dr. Morrison moved quickly between the patients, checking that everyone was secure. The human medical staff worked with calm efficiency even as the ship shuddered under enemy fire. "Do not worry," Dr. Morrison told the frightened Zephyrians. "Human ships are built to take damage. We will be safe here." Through the medical bay windows, Veltar could see the battle beginning. The hegemony ships fired bright blue energy, beams that lit up space like lightning. Their plasma cannons sent glowing balls of fire toward the human fleet. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. The human ships moved differently than any warships Veltar had ever seen. Instead of staying in neat formations, they spread out and moved independently. They dodged and weaved between the enemy attacks like living creatures. "Why do your ships move like that?" Young Kieran asked Sergeant Santos, who had stayed in the medical bay. "Human pilots are trained differently," the sergeant explained. "We do not fight like machines in formation. We fight like hunters stalking prey." As if to prove her point, one of the human destroyers suddenly accelerated straight toward a hegemony cruiser. The enemy ship fired everything it had but the human. Ship rolled and twisted, avoiding most of the shots. The few hits that connected seemed to barely slow it down. "Crazy humans," Sergeant Santos muttered with what sounded like pride. The human destroyer fired its kinetic cannons. Veltar watched as solid metal projectiles slammed into the hegemony ship's shields. The energy barriers flared and sparked. Then they failed completely. The next volley of kinetic rounds punched through the enemy hull like it was made of paper. Explosions erupted along the hegemony cruiser's side. Atmosphere and debris spilled out into space. "Impossible," Veltar whispered. "Nothing can penetrate hegemony shields that easily." "Energy shields stop energy weapons," Sergeant Santos said. Simply. "But they do not stop big chunks of metal moving really fast." Another hegemony ship tried to ram the human destroyer. It was a desperate move that should have worked. The enemy ship was 3 times larger and much heavier. But the human pilot saw it coming. The destroyer's engines flared bright blue. It accelerated so quickly that Veltar could see the hull bending under the stress. The ship rolled sideways and fired its missiles as the enemy cruiser passed overhead. The nuclear warheads detonated against the hegemony ship's belly. The explosions tore huge holes in the hull. The enemy ship began spinning out of control, venting atmosphere and burning fuel. "Your ships are much faster than they look," Kieran observed. "Human engineering?" Sergeant Santos replied. "We build everything to be tougher than it needs to be. Our ships can take damage that would destroy other vessels. And keep fighting." The communication system activated. Admiral Chen's voice filled the medical bay. "All ships, this is Admiral Chen. Execute attack pattern Delta. Break their formation and target their command ship." The human fleet suddenly changed tactics. Instead of fighting defensively, they went on the attack. 6 ships moved to surround the largest hegemony vessel while the others engaged the rest of the enemy fleet. Veltar watched in amazement as the human ships worked together. They moved like a pack of predators, coordinating their attacks without seeming to communicate. When one ship was damaged, the others moved to protect it. When an enemy showed weakness, they all focused their fire. "How do they coordinate so well?" he asked. "Practice," Sergeant Santos said. "Human military units train together for years. We learn to think like one mind." A hegemony battleship fired its main weapon at the human flagship. The massive energy beam should have destroyed the ship completely. Instead, the human vessel rolled sideways at the last second. The beam passed through empty space where the ship had been a moment before. The flagship immediately returned fire. Its main kinetic cannon fired a tungsten rod the size of a shuttlecraft. The projectile moved so fast it was almost invisible. It struck the hegemony battleship's bridge and punched completely through the hull. The enemy ship's lights went out. It began drifting, powerless and dead. "Your admiral is very skilled," Veltar said. "Admiral Chun fought in the Centauri Wars," Sergeant Santos explained. "She has been in more space battles than most species have had wars." The battle continued for another hour. The human ships used tactics that seemed impossible. They hid behind asteroids and attacked from unexpected angles. They used their ship's debris as weapons, ramming damaged sections into enemy hulls. One destroyer that had lost its main engines actually used its backup thrusters to spin like a wheel, firing in all directions. The hegemony ships fought with precision and overwhelming firepower, but they were used to fighting enemies who used similar tactics. They expected other ships to stay in formation and exchange fire at long range. The humans did not fight that way. They fought like the predators they were. They hunted in packs. They used surprise and speed instead of raw power. They adapted their tactics as the battle changed. When a hegemony cruiser tried to retreat, 2 human frigates pursued it. They harassed it with hit-and-run attacks, wearing down its shields and weapons. When the enemy finally turned to fight, the human ships had led it into an ambush. 3 more ships appeared from behind a moon and destroyed it completely. "They are making it look easy?" Kiran said in wonder. "It is not easy," Sergeant Santos replied. "Those pilots are some of the best in human space. And they are highly motivated." "Motivated how?" Veltar asked. The sergeant looked at him seriously. "They know they are protecting civilians. Human military personnel take that very seriously. There is no higher honor than defending the innocent." The tide of battle began to turn. The hegemony fleet had started with 23 ships. Now only 15 remained. The human fleet had lost 2 destroyers, but the remaining 10 ships were still fighting effectively. The communication system activated again. This time it was a hegemony voice, speaking in the cold mechanical tone they always used. "Human fleet, you have fought well, but you cannot win. Surrender now, and we will allow your ships to leave. Continue fighting, and we will destroy you all." "Admiral." Chun's response came immediately. "Hegemony fleet, this is Admiral Chun. We do not negotiate with genocidal murderers. Surrender now or be destroyed." There was a long pause. Then the hegemony voice spoke again, but this time it sounded different, less confident. "You cannot defeat us. We are the hegemony. We have conquered 47 worlds. No species has ever successfully opposed us." "Then you have been fighting the wrong species," Admiral Chun replied. "This is your last warning. Surrender or face the consequences." The first explosion shook the entire human ship. Captain Veltar felt the vibration through his bed in the medical bay. The lights flickered for a moment and then came back on. Emergency lighting began flashing red along the walls. Dr. Morrison moved quickly between the patients, checking that everyone was secure. The human medical staff worked with calm efficiency even as the ship shuddered under enemy fire. "Do not worry," Dr. Morrison told the frightened Zephyrians. "Human ships are built to take damage. We will be safe here." Through the medical bay windows, Veltar could see the battle beginning. The hegemony ships fired bright blue energy, beams that lit up space like lightning. Their plasma cannons sent glowing balls of fire toward the human fleet. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. The human ships moved differently than any warships Veltar had ever seen. Instead of staying in neat formations, they spread out and moved independently. They dodged and weaved between the enemy attacks like living creatures. "Why do your ships move like that?" Young Kieran asked Sergeant Santos, who had stayed in the medical bay. "Human pilots are trained differently," the sergeant explained. "We do not fight like machines in formation. We fight like hunters stalking prey." As if to prove her point, one of the human destroyers suddenly accelerated straight toward a hegemony cruiser. The enemy ship fired everything it had but the human ship rolled and twisted, avoiding most of the shots. The few hits that connected seemed to barely slow it down. "Crazy humans," Sergeant Santos muttered with what sounded like pride. The human destroyer fired its kinetic cannons. Veltar watched as solid metal projectiles slammed into the hegemony ship's shields. The energy barriers flared and sparked. Then they failed completely. The next volley of kinetic rounds punched through the enemy hull like it was made of paper. Explosions erupted along the hegemony cruiser's side. Atmosphere and debris spilled out into space. "Impossible," Veltar whispered. "Nothing can penetrate hegemony shields that easily." "Energy shields stop energy weapons," Sergeant Santos said. Simply. "But they do not stop big chunks of metal moving really fast." Another hegemony ship tried to ram the human destroyer. It was a desperate move that should have worked. The enemy ship was 3 times larger and much heavier. But the human pilot saw it coming. The destroyer's engines flared bright blue. It accelerated so quickly that Veltar could see the hull bending under the stress. The ship rolled sideways and fired its missiles as the enemy cruiser passed overhead. The nuclear warheads detonated against the hegemony ship's belly. The explosions tore huge holes in the hull. The enemy ship began spinning out of control, venting atmosphere and burning fuel. "Your ships are much faster than they look," Kieran observed. "Human engineering?" Sergeant Santos replied. "We build everything to be tougher than it needs to be. Our ships can take damage that would destroy other vessels. And keep fighting." The communication system activated. Admiral Chen's voice filled the medical bay. "All ships, this is Admiral Chen. Execute attack pattern Delta. Break their formation and target their command ship." The human fleet suddenly changed tactics. Instead of fighting defensively, they went on the attack. 6 ships moved to surround the largest hegemony vessel while the others engaged the rest of the enemy fleet. Veltar watched in amazement as the human ships worked together. They moved like a pack of predators, coordinating their attacks without seeming to communicate. When one ship was damaged, the others moved to protect it. When an enemy showed weakness, they all focused their fire. "How do they coordinate so well?" he asked. "Practice," Sergeant Santos said. "Human military units trained together for years. We learn to think like one mind." A hegemony battleship fired its main weapon at the human flagship. The massive energy beam should have destroyed the ship completely. Instead, the human vessel rolled sideways at the last second. The beam passed through empty space where the ship had been a moment before. The flagship immediately returned fire. Its main kinetic cannon fired a tungsten rod the size of a shuttlecraft. The projectile moved so fast it was almost invisible. It struck the hegemony battleship's bridge and punched completely through the hull. The enemy ship's lights went out. It began drifting, powerless and dead. "Your admiral is very skilled," Veltar said. "Admiral Chun fought in the Centauri Wars," Sergeant Santos explained. "She has been in more space battles than most species have had wars." The battle continued for another hour. The human ships used tactics that seemed impossible. They hid behind asteroids and attacked from unexpected angles. They used their ship's debris as weapons, ramming damaged sections into enemy hulls. One destroyer that had lost its main engines actually used its backup thrusters to spin like a wheel, firing in all directions. The hegemony ships fought with precision and overwhelming firepower. But they were used to fighting enemies who used similar tactics. They expected other ships to stay in formation and exchange fire at long range. The humans did not fight that way. They fought like the predators they were. They hunted in packs. They used surprise and speed instead of raw power. They adapted their tactics as the battle changed. When a hegemony cruiser tried to retreat, 2 human frigates pursued it. They harassed it with hit-and-run attacks, wearing down its shields and weapons. When the enemy finally turned to fight, the human ships had led it into an ambush. 3 more ships appeared from behind a moon and destroyed it completely. They are making it look easy, Kiran said in wonder. It is not easy, Sergeant Santos replied. Those pilots are some of the best in human space. And they are highly motivated. Motivated how? Veltar asked. The sergeant looked at him seriously. They know they are protecting civilians. Human military personnel take that very seriously. There is no higher honor than defending the innocent. The tide of battle began to turn. The hegemony fleet had started with 23 ships. Now only 15 remained. The human fleet had lost 2 destroyers, but the remaining 10 ships were still fighting effectively, the communication system activated. Again. This time it was a hegemony voice, speaking in the cold mechanical tone they always used. Human fleet, you have fought well, but you cannot win. Surrender now, and we will allow your ships to leave. Continue fighting, and we will destroy you all. Admiral. Chun's response came immediately. Hegemony fleet, this is Admiral Chun. We do not negotiate with genocidal murderers. Surrender now or be destroyed. There was a long pause. Then the hegemony voice spoke again, but this time it sounded different, less confident. You cannot defeat us. We are the hegemony. We have conquered 47 worlds. No species has ever successfully opposed us. Then you have been fighting the wrong species, Admiral Chun replied. This is your last warning. Surrender or face the consequences. 3 days after the first battle, the alarm sounded again. Captain Veltar was walking through the corridors of the human ship when the warning came. He had been getting stronger thanks to the human medicine. His radiation sickness was almost gone. All hands to battle stations, Admiral Chun's voice echoed through the ship. Multiple hegemony fleets detected approaching. This is not a drill. Veltar hurried to the observation deck, where many other Zephyrians had gathered. Through the large windows, they could see space filled with ships, not just one fleet this time. 3 entire hegemony battle groups were approaching from different directions. How many ships? Asked Kiran, who now wore a human uniform. She had been learning to work with the navigation systems. 68 vessels, reported a human officer, including 12 battleships and 4 dreadnoughts. The Zephyrians looked at each other in fear. This was 5 times larger than the force that had destroyed their homeworld. The human fleet only had 10 ships left after the first battle, but the humans did not seem worried. They moved with the same calm efficiency they always showed. Crew members ran to their stations, but they did not look afraid. They looked ready. Admiral Chun appeared on the ship's communication screens throughout the vessel. Attention all personnel, she said. The hegemony has sent a large force to retrieve their refugees and punish us for our interference. They expect us to surrender or run away. They are about to learn that humans do neither. She paused and looked directly into the camera. Today we show them why Earth is called a Deathworld. Today we show them what happens when you threaten innocent people under human protection. All ships prepare for extended combat operations. Veltar watched through the windows as the human ships began to move, but they did not move toward the enemy fleets. Instead, they spread out and disappeared behind asteroids and small moons. Where are they going? Asked an elderly Zephyrian. Are they running away? No, said Sergeant Santos, who had joined them on the observation deck. They are hunting. Within minutes, the human ships had vanished completely. The hegemony fleets approached the area where the battle had taken place. They moved in their usual perfect formations, expecting to find wreckage and fleeing survivors. Instead, they found empty space. The hegemony commander sent a message on all frequencies. His voice was cold and angry. Human cowards, we know you are here. Surrender the refugees immediately or we will destroy every human ship in this system. Admiral Chun's response came from everywhere at once. Her voice echoed from multiple directions as different ships transmitted simultaneously. We are here, she said. Come and find us. The first attack came from inside an asteroid field. Two human destroyers suddenly appeared from behind large rocks and fired everything they had at a hegemony cruiser. The kinetic rounds and missiles struck before the enemy could react. The cruiser exploded in a ball of fire. Before the hegemony fleet could respond, the human ships disappeared again. Ambush tactics, Sergeant Santos explained to the watching Zephyrians. We learned this fighting in the asteroid belts around Proxima Centauri. Use the environment as cover and strike when the enemy least expects it. The second attack came from a different direction. A human frigate emerged from behind a small moon and launched a spread of nuclear missiles at a hegemony battleship. The missiles were moving so fast and came from such an unexpected angle that the enemy point defense systems could not stop them all. 3 nuclear explosions lit up the battleship's hull. Its shields failed and its armor cracked. Atmosphere leaked out into space. The hegemony fleets tried to spread out to cover more area, but this only made them more vulnerable. The human ships attacked isolated vessels, always from unexpected directions. They would fire a few devastating volleys and then disappear before the enemy could mount an effective response. This is not how space battles are supposed to work, Veltar said in amazement. Humans do not fight the way others expect, Sergeant Santos replied. We use the terrain, we use surprise. We make the enemy come to us on our terms. A hegemony dreadnought tried to flush out the human ships by firing its main guns at the asteroids, where they might be hiding. The massive energy beams destroyed several large rocks but hit nothing important. The response was immediate and devastating. All 10 human ships appeared at once, surrounding the isolated dreadnought. They had been hiding not in the asteroid field but behind the gas giant's moons. The coordinated attack lasted less than 2 minutes. Kinetic rounds, missiles, and particle beams struck the hegemony dreadnought from every direction. Its shields overloaded, its armor cracked. Its weapons went silent when the attack ended. The mighty dreadnought was a drifting wreck. The human ships vanished again before the other hegemony vessels could come to their allies' aid. Impossible, whispered Karen. They destroyed a dreadnought in minutes. Pack hunting, Sergeant Santos said with satisfaction. Isolate the target, surround it, strike together. It is the oldest human military tactic. The hegemony commander was becoming desperate. His perfect formations were useless against an enemy that refused to fight in formation. His superior numbers meant nothing when the humans could attack small groups and then disappear. He decided to try a different approach. The 3 hegemony fleets would converge on the gas giant where the human flagship was believed to be hiding. They would bombard the entire area until nothing could survive, but Admiral Chun had anticipated this move. As the enemy fleets approached the gas giant, human ships emerged from the planet's ring system. They had been hiding among the ice and rock particles, invisible to enemy sensors. The battle that followed was unlike anything Veltar had ever seen. The human ships moved through the gas giant's rings like they were swimming in an ocean. They used the ring particles as cover and weapons. Chunks of ice the size of buildings were accelerated by the ship's gravity generators and hurled at enemy vessels. The hegemony ships found themselves fighting in an environment they could not understand. Their sensors were blocked by the ring particles. Their weapons had trouble targeting enemies hidden among the debris. Their precise formations became a liability as ships collided with ice chunks and each other. One human cruiser actually used a large asteroid as a weapon. It pushed the rock out of orbit and sent it tumbling toward a hegemony battleship. When the enemy tried to destroy the asteroid with their guns, the explosion sent thousands of smaller rocks flying in all directions. Several hegemony ships were damaged by the debris. Your people fight like the environment is their ally, Veltar observed. Because it is, Sergeant Santos replied. Humans learn to use everything around them as tools and weapons. When you grow up on a Deathworld, you learn that everything can help you or hurt you. The trick is learning which is which. The tide of battle turned when Admiral Chun executed what she called the Terran Gambit. The human flagship suddenly accelerated directly toward the gas giant's atmosphere. 3 hegemony battleships followed, thinking they had trapped the enemy. Ship. At the last moment, the human ship skipped off the gas giant's upper atmosphere like a stone skipping on water. The maneuver changed its course by 90 degrees and sent it flying toward the enemy ships at incredible speed. The hegemony vessels tried to follow, but they were not built for such extreme maneuvers. One ship was caught by the gas giant's gravity and pulled into the crushing atmosphere. The other two were forced to break off their pursuit. The human flagship used its momentum from the atmospheric skip to ram one of the remaining battleships. But instead of a simple collision, Admiral Chun had planned something more sophisticated. At the moment of impact, the human ship fired all its kinetic cannons into the enemy hull at point-blank range. The tungsten rounds punched completely through the battleship and continued into space. The enemy ship simply disintegrated. Did she just use her own ship as a bullet? Kiran asked in shock. Admiral Chun is famous for unconventional tactics, Sergeant Santos said with obvious pride. During the Centauri Wars, she once defeated an entire enemy fleet by hiding her ships inside a comet. The human flagship was badly damaged from the ramming attack, but it was still functional. Admiral Chun immediately ordered her ship to retreat to a safe distance for repairs. But the psychological effect of the attack was devastating to the hegemony forces. Their most powerful ships were being destroyed by tactics they could not predict or counter. The humans fought like madmen, using their own ships as weapons and turning the environment into an ally. The hegemony commander made a final desperate attempt to win. He ordered all remaining ships to form a tight defensive formation and bombard the entire gas giant system. If they could not catch the human ships, they would destroy everything in the area. This was exactly what Admiral Chun had been waiting for. With all the enemy ships bunched together in one formation, they made a perfect target for the trap she had prepared. From the outer edge of the system, a cloud of objects began moving toward the hegemony fleet. At first they looked like asteroids or debris. The enemy sensors detected them but dismissed them as natural objects. They were not natural. They were human mines, disguised to look like space rocks. Admiral Chun had seeded the system with hundreds of them during the 3 days between battles. The mines were simple but effective. Each one contained a nuclear warhead and a basic guidance system. They were programmed to wait until enemy ships came within range and then detonate. The first mine to explode was near the center of the hegemony formation. The nuclear blast destroyed 2 frigates and damaged several other ships, but that was just the beginning. The explosion triggered other mines in a chain reaction. Within minutes, the entire hegemony formation was engulfed in nuclear fire. Ships tried to escape, but the mines had been positioned to cover all possible retreat routes. When the explosions finally ended, only a handful of hegemony ships remained. Most were badly damaged and trying to limp away from the battle. The human ships emerged from their hiding places and began hunting down the survivors. They showed no mercy to ships that had come to commit genocide. Any vessel that did not immediately surrender was destroyed. "It is over," Veltar said quietly. "They won again?" "Of course they did," Sergeant Santos replied. "This is what humans do. We protect our people and we destroy anyone who threatens them." The final tally was devastating for the hegemony. Of the 68 ships that had entered the system, only 12 escaped. The rest were destroyed or captured. The human fleet had lost 3 ships, but the survivors were already making repairs. More importantly, the humans had captured several hegemony officers during the boarding operations. These prisoners would provide valuable intelligence about enemy operations and the location of other threatened worlds. Admiral Chun's voice came over the ship's communication system one final time. "All ships, this is Admiral Chun, secure from battle stations. Begin recovery operations and send a message to Earth Command. Tell them the hegemony is not as invincible as they thought." She paused for a moment. "Also tell them that the Zephyrian people have proven themselves to be valuable allies. They will be welcome in human space for as long as they choose to stay." Veltar felt tears in his eyes. His people had found more than just safety among the humans. They had found a new home with protectors who would never abandon them. The humans had not just won 2 battles. They had shown the galaxy that the hegemony could be defeated. Other oppressed species would learn about these victories. They would realize that resistance was possible. The war against genocide had only just begun. But now, for the first time, the forces of good had a chance to win. 6 months later, Captain Veltar stood on the observation deck of the transport ship Horizon's Edge. Through the wide windows, he could see their destination growing larger. New Terra, a human colony world on the edge of explored space. It would be the new home for the Zephyrian refugees. The planet looked beautiful from orbit. Blue oceans, green continents, and white clouds swirled around a world that seemed peaceful and welcoming. But Veltar knew the truth. This was a human world, which meant it was probably trying to kill its inhabitants in ways he could not imagine. "It looks so normal," said Charon, who now wore the uniform of a human navigation officer. She had learned to operate human star charts and communication systems. Admiral Chun had personally recommended her for training at the Terran Naval Academy. "Normal for humans," Veltar replied, "which means it is probably more dangerous than our worst nightmares." Sergeant Santos, who had been assigned as liaison to the Zephyrian refugees, laughed at his comment. "New Terra is actually one of our safer worlds. We only have to worry about the storm seasons, the predator migrations, and the occasional volcanic activity." Veltar stared at her. "You call that safe? Compared to Earth?" "Absolutely," Santos replied with a grin. "On Earth we have hurricanes that can level cities, earthquakes that split continents, and animals that hunt humans for sport. New Terra is practically a vacation resort." The transport ship entered the planet's atmosphere. Veltar watched through the windows as they descended through thick clouds. When they broke through the cloud layer, he gasped. The landscape below was unlike anything he had ever seen. Vast forests stretched to the horizon, but the trees were enormous. Some were taller than the buildings on Zephyr Prime had been. Rivers cut through the landscape like silver ribbons. Mountains rose in the distance, their peaks covered with snow, but what amazed Veltar most was the cities. The human settlements were built into the landscape, not on top of it. Buildings grew from cliffsides like metal trees. Bridges spanned valleys like spider webs. The cities looked like they had always been part of the natural world. "How do you build cities like that?" he asked. "Practice," Santos replied. "When you grow up on a Deathworld, you learn to work with nature instead of fighting it. These cities can survive earthquakes, floods, and 100-year storms." The transport landed at a spaceport that was carved into the side of a mountain. As they disembarked, Veltar felt the planet's gravity. It was slightly heavier than he was used to, but not uncomfortable. The air smelled of growing things and carried sounds of life. Human children ran through the spaceport, laughing and playing games. But Veltar noticed that their games would terrify most alien species. They chased each other with toy weapons. They climbed structures that were 3 times their height. They played with small animals that had sharp teeth and claws. "Are those children not afraid of those creatures?" Charon asked, pointing to a group of young humans playing with what looked like miniature predators. "Those are puppies," Santos explained. "Baby dogs." "They are pets." "Pets?" Veltar could not understand. "They have teeth and claws." "So do cats, and humans keep those as pets too," Santos said. "On Earth, we domesticated predators thousands of years ago. Now they help us hunt and protect our homes." A human family approached them. The parents looked normal enough, but their children were doing things that made Veltar nervous. The youngest, who could not have been more than 5 years old, was hanging upside down from a metal bar with only her legs holding her weight. "Welcome to New Terra," the father said in accented galactic common. "I am David Chun, the colony administrator. We have prepared housing for your people in the New Valley settlement." "You are related to Admiral Chun?" Veltar asked. "She is my sister," David replied with pride. "She sent word that you were coming. She also sent strict instructions that you are to be treated as honored guests." They were taken to the New Valley settlement in vehicles that moved without wheels. The machines floated above the ground using some kind of energy field. The ride was smooth but fast, much faster than Veltar thought was safe. The settlement was a marvel of human engineering. The buildings were made of materials that looked like they had grown from the earth itself. Gardens and farms were integrated into the city design. Water flowed through channels that served both practical and aesthetic purposes, but what impressed Veltar most was how the humans had prepared for their arrival. An entire section of the settlement had been modified for Zephyrian needs. The air mixture was adjusted to be more comfortable for their physiology. The lighting was softer than humans preferred. The furniture was sized for beings with 4 arms instead of 2. "How did you know what we would need?" Veltar asked David Chun. "Doctor Morrison sent detailed specifications," David replied. "We spent 3 months preparing. We wanted your people to feel at home here." The Zephyrian refugees were given individual apartments in buildings designed specifically for their comfort. Each family had space for gardens where they could grow the plants they needed for their traditional foods. Community areas were provided for social gatherings and cultural activities, but the most surprising thing was how the human children reacted to their new neighbors. Instead of fear or curiosity, they showed immediate acceptance. Within days, young humans and young Zephyrians were playing together as if they had always been friends. Veltar watched from his apartment window as children from both species ran through the gardens. They had invented new games that combined human and Zephyrian traditions. They were teaching each other their languages. They shared their food and their toys without hesitation. "How do your children adapt so quickly?" he asked David Chun during a community meeting. "Children are naturally accepting," David replied. "They have not learned to be afraid of differences yet. To them, having 4 arms just means you can catch more balls in a game." Kieran had been assigned to work with the Human Navigation Center. She came home each day with stories of the technology she was learning to use. The humans had given her access to star charts that mapped half the galaxy. They were teaching her to calculate jump routes through hyperspace. "They trust me with their most sensitive information," she told Veltar. "Navigation data that could be used by enemies. But they act like it is normal to share such secrets with aliens." "Perhaps to them it is normal," Veltar replied. "We are not aliens to them anymore. We are their people now." This seemed to be true. The humans treated the Zephyrian refugees not as charity cases or burden, but as new members of their community. They offered jobs to those who wanted to work. They provided education to those who wanted to learn. They respected those who preferred to maintain their traditional ways. Sergeant Santos visited regularly. She had been promoted to lieutenant and given command of the settlement's security forces. But her job was not to guard the Zephyrians, it was to protect them. "We have received intelligence about hegemony infiltration attempts," she told Veltar during one of her visits. "They are trying to locate refugee settlements to launch revenge attacks. Are we putting your people in danger by being here?" Veltar asked with concern. Santos looked at him like he had said something foolish. "Captain, you are our people now. Protecting you is not a burden, it is our duty." She pointed through the window to where human and Zephyrian children were playing together in the gardens. "Look at them," she said. "They do not see species differences, they just see friends. That is the future we are building here." 3 months after arriving on New Terra, Veltar received a message that changed everything. It came through official Terran Federation channels and was marked with the highest priority codes. The message was from Admiral Chun. She had been promoted to Fleet Admiral and given command of a new multi-species task force. The goal was to liberate worlds that were under hegemony occupation. "Captain Veltar," the message began, "I am writing to inform you that the Terran Federation Council has voted to formally recognize the Zephyrian people as citizens of the Federation. You are no longer refugees, you are Terrans." Veltar read the message 3 times before the words fully registered. "Citizenship? Not just protection or asylum, but full membership in human society. The message continued. I am also writing to offer you and any other Zephyrians who are interested a place in the Liberation Fleet. We need experienced ship captains who understand hegemony tactics. We need navigators who know the star charts of occupied territories. We need people who have personal reasons to fight against genocide. The choice is yours, the message concluded. You can remain on New Terra and build a peaceful life for your people, or you can join us in making sure no other species suffers. What the Zephyrians suffered, both choices are honorable. Both choices have our full support. That evening, Veltar called a meeting of all the adult Zephyrians in the settlement. He read them Admiral Chen's message and explained what it meant. We have a choice to make, he said. We can stay here and live in safety. Or some of us can join the humans in their fight against the hegemony. The discussion that followed lasted for hours. Some Zephyrians wanted only peace after the trauma they had experienced. Others felt a duty to help rescue species that were still under hegemony control. In the end, they reached a decision that satisfied everyone. The elderly, the children, and those who preferred peaceful lives would remain on New Terra, but volunteers would join the Liberation Fleet to help free other oppressed worlds. Veltar was among the volunteers. So was Kiran, whose navigation skills had impressed even the human Starfleet command. 37 other Zephyrians also chose to serve. The day they left for fleet duty, the entire settlement gathered to see them off. Human children gave them lucky charms and pictures they had drawn. Zephyrian families sang traditional blessing songs. Everyone cried, but they were tears of pride as much as sadness. Lieutenant Santos came to say goodbye personally. She shook hands with each volunteer in the human tradition. Remember, she told them, you are not going to war as Zephyrians or as humans. You are going as Terrans. And Terrans never abandon their own. As their transport ship lifted off from New Terra, Veltar looked down at the world that had become his people's new home. In the gardens below, human and Zephyrian children continued playing together. They would grow up as one people, not two separate species. The hegemony had tried to commit genocide against the Zephyrians. They had succeeded in destroying a world and killing billions of innocent beings, but they had failed in their ultimate goal. The Zephyrian people still existed. More than that, they had found allies who would help them ensure that such atrocities never happened again. They had found a species that considered the protection of innocence to be the highest calling. They had found humanity. 6 months later, Captain Veltar stood on the bridge of the Terran Federation starship New Zephyr. His crew was half human, half Zephyrian. His navigator was Kiran, now a full lieutenant in the Terran fleet. His weapons officer was a human marine, who had volunteered specifically to serve under Zephyrian command. Through the viewscreen, he could see their target, a hegemony prison world where thousands of refugees from 12 different species were being held in concentration camps. All ships, this is Admiral Chun, came the voice over the fleet communication system. Remember, we are not here for revenge. We are here for rescue. Our goal is to save lives, not take them. But if the hegemony wants to fight, we will give them a fight they will never forget. Veltar smiled as he gave the order to attack. The hegemony had taught the galaxy to fear genocide and oppression. Now humanity and its allies would teach the galaxy something different. They would teach them that evil could be defeated, that genocidal empires could be stopped, that sometimes when darkness threatened to consume everything, heroes would rise to drive it back. And those heroes might come from the most unexpected places. From Deathworld predators who chose to protect instead of destroy. From refugee survivors who refused to let others suffer as they had suffered. From the alliance between humanity and everyone else who believed that innocent life was worth defending. The war for the galaxy's freedom had begun, and the forces of good finally had a chance to win. The silver ship appeared in Earth's sky on a Tuesday morning. It was bigger than any building humans had ever made. The ship moved slowly over major cities, casting shadows that made people stop and stare. News reporters talked fast into their cameras. World leaders held emergency meetings. Children pointed at the sky with wide eyes. Ambassador Zixtel stood on the bridge of his massive vessel and looked down at the blue planet below. His tall, thin body swayed slightly as he moved. His skin was pale gray, and his large black eyes reflected the light from Earth's sun. He had done this many times before with other primitive worlds. First contact was always the same. "Scan their technology levels," Zixtel ordered his crew. The scanner operator, a short alien with 4 arms, worked quickly at his station. "Basic nuclear power, Ambassador. Chemical rockets, simple satellites. They have not even left their home." "System yet," the operator's voice was calm. This was normal for new species, Zixtel nodded. Another young race that thought they were important? In a few days they would understand their place in the galaxy. The Galactic Council had been doing this for 10,000 years. 47 different alien species had joined the Council over time. Each one had learned to follow the rules and accept their role. "Send the standard first contact message," Zixtel said. "Tell them we come in peace. Tell them about the Galactic Council. Make it simple so they can understand." Down on Earth, every radio and television started playing the same message at the same time. The voice spoke in perfect English, then Chinese, then Spanish, and dozens of other languages. "People of Earth, we are the Galactic Council. We have watched your world for some time. You are now ready to join the greater community of spacefaring. Species, we come in peace. Your leaders may speak with us to discuss your planet's future." In the Pentagon, Admiral Sarah Chun sat at a long table with other military leaders. She was a small woman with short black hair and sharp eyes. She had spent 30 years in the Space Force and had seen many strange things, but never aliens. "What do we know about their weapons?" asked General Harrison, a big man with gray hair. "Their ship has energy shields," Chun said, looking at her tablet. "Our missiles bounce right off. They have plasma weapons that can destroy our satellites easily. Their technology is way ahead of ours." "How far ahead?" Harrison asked. "Maybe 1,000 years. Maybe more." Chun set down her tablet. "But we're still studying them," General Harrison frowned. "Can we fight them?" "Not in a normal way," Chun said. She looked around the table at the other officers. "But maybe we don't need to fight normal." 3 days later, Ambassador Zixtel met with world leaders in New York. The meeting room was full of humans in expensive suits. They looked nervous and excited. Zixtel had seen this before too. Young species always acted the same way. "Welcome to Earth," said President Martinez. She was trying to sound confident, but Zixtel could hear the fear in her voice. "Thank you," Zixtel said. His voice was smooth and calm. "Your world is interesting. We have studied your history. You fight each other often. This will need to change." "Change how?" asked Prime Minister Chun, a different Chun from the Admiral. "War between Council species is not allowed," Zixtel explained. "The Council keeps peace. Your armies will become police forces. Your weapons will be destroyed. This is how all member worlds work." The human leaders looked at each other. Some seemed relieved. Others looked worried. "What if we say no?" asked President Martinez. Zixtel smiled. It was not a kind smile. "Young species always ask this question. You cannot say no. You have seen our power. Your weapons cannot hurt us. It is better to join willingly." In space above Earth, more Council ships arrived every day. They formed perfect lines and patterns around the planet. Each ship was bigger than anything humans had built. The ships had smooth white walls and blue energy shields that glowed in the darkness. General Vorthok commanded the Council fleet. He was a large alien with thick red skin and 4 powerful arms. His species, the Drakmari, had been warriors before joining the Council long ago. Now they served as the Council's military commanders. "Status report," Vorthok said to his officers. His voice was deep and rough. "The humans have tried to scan our ships," reported Commander Thexara. She was tall and thin like Zixtel, but her skin was blue. "Their technology is very basic. They cannot understand our systems." "Good," Vorthok said. "What about their military response?" Confused and slow, Vixara said. They move their ships randomly, no clear command structure. Their weapons are kinetic projectiles and chemical explosives. Very primitive, Vorthik laughed. It sounded like rocks grinding together. Another easy conquest. How long before they surrender? Days, maybe a week, Vixara said. They know they cannot win. But Admiral Chun was not planning to surrender. In a secret bunker deep underground, she met with her best officers and scientists. The room was full of computer screens showing alien ship movements and technical data. What have we learned? Chun asked Dr. Elena Vasquez, the head of weapons. Research stood up. She was a young woman with messy brown hair and thick glasses. Their shields stop energy weapons and fast-moving objects. But they seemed designed for specific types of attacks. What do you mean? Chun asked. They expect plasma weapons and energy beams, Dr. Vasquez said. That's what other alien species probably use. But we use different weapons. Captain Marcus Rodriguez, a tough-looking man with scars on his hands, spoke up. Our railguns fire. Metal slugs at very high speed, not energy, not plasma. Just big pieces of metal moving fast. Will that work? Chun asked. Maybe, Dr. Vasquez said. But we need to test it carefully. If we attack too early, they'll know we found a weakness, Chun nodded. What else? They fight in formations, said Commander Lisa Park, a young officer. With bright red hair, very organized, very predictable. They'd probably expect us to do the same, but we won't, Chun said. We'll fight like humans. What does that mean? Park asked. Chun smiled for the first time in days. It means we cheat. Over the next week, the aliens watched human military forces move around Earth. The movements looked panicked and disorganized. Human ships flew in random patterns. Radio messages between human commanders sounded confused and frightened. General. Vorthek was pleased. They are falling apart, he told his officers. Fear is making them stupid, Commander Vixara agreed. Their leaders argue with each other, no unity, no clear plan. This will be over soon. But Admiral Chun was counting on the aliens to think exactly that. Every confused radio message was planned. Every random ship movement had a purpose. While the aliens watched Earth's obvious military bases, human engineers worked day and night. On secret projects. In asteroid mining stations, workers installed hidden weapons. On the moon, construction crews built concealed missile launchers. Even civilian cargo ships were secretly fitted with military equipment. The work was dangerous and had to be done without the aliens noticing. Dr. Vasquez led teams of scientists in studying captured alien technology. A few small alien probes had crashed or been shot down. The humans took them apart piece by piece, learning how alien shields and weapons worked. Their technology is advanced, Dr. Vasquez explained to Chun, but it's old. They haven't changed. Their designs in hundreds of years, maybe thousands. Why not? Chun asked. Because they always win, Dr. Vasquez said. When you always win, you stop trying to get better. Chun understood. The aliens were powerful, but they were also lazy. They expected every fight to be the same. They had forgotten how to adapt. Ambassador Zixtel sent daily messages to Earth's leaders. The messages were always polite but firm. Join the council willingly or be forced to join. There was no third option. President Martinez called Chun for advice. Admiral, they want our final answer tomorrow. What should I tell them? Tell them we need more time, Chun said. Tell them our governments move slowly. Ask for one more week. Will that help? Martinez asked. Every day helps, Chun said. We're not ready yet. The president agreed to ask for more time. Ambassador Zixtel was annoyed but not surprised. Young species often needed time to accept reality. 1 more week, Zixtel told General Vorthak. Then we begin the demonstration. What kind of demonstration? Vorthak asked. We destroy one of their cities, Zixtel said calmly. Nothing too important, just enough to show them we are serious. Vorthak nodded. Which city? Let them choose, Zixtel said. It will make the lesson more personal. That night, Admiral. Chun stood on the roof of the Pentagon and looked up at the alien ships. They hung in the sky like glowing threats, their blue shields reflecting Earth's city lights. In 7 days, those ships would attack. In 7 days, humanity would find out if being different was enough to survive. Chun thought about her daughter, who was away at college. She thought about all the humans on Earth who were counting on the military to protect them. The aliens thought humans were weak and primitive. Maybe they were right about the primitive part. Human technology was thousands of years behind alien science, but the aliens had made one big mistake. They thought being primitive meant being helpless. They had never fought a species that came from a world where everything tried to kill you. They had never faced enemies who learned to survive by being smarter, faster, and more creative than anything that hunted them. The aliens were about to learn what humans meant when they said, "Adapt or die." Chun walked back inside the building. There was work to do, and only 7 days to do it. The galaxy's most powerful military force was coming to destroy Earth. They expected an easy victory against a primitive species. They were going to be very surprised. The week passed quickly. Every day, more alien ships arrived in Earth's orbit. They formed neat rows around the planet like a metal fence. General Vorthok counted over 200 ships now. Each one carried enough firepower to level a human city. The humans are getting more desperate, Commander Thexara reported. Their ship movements are becoming wild. Some of their commanders are not following orders. Vorthak watched the tactical display. Human ships were indeed moving strangely. Some flew toward the alien fleet, then turned away at the last moment. Others seemed to be running from their own bases. The patterns made no sense to him. "Panic," Vorthak said with satisfaction. "They know they cannot win. Soon they will beg for mercy," but Admiral Chun was not panicking. In her secret command center, she watched the same display with very different eyes. Every strange movement was part of her plan. Every confused radio message was an act. "Status report," Chun said to her officers. Captain Rodriguez stood up. His face was tired but determined. "Asteroid stations are ready. We have weapons hidden in 47 mining platforms. The aliens think they're just rocks." "Good," Chun said. "What about the civilian ships?" Commander Park smiled. "Cargo ships are loaded and ready. The aliens scanned them yesterday. They saw normal cargo containers and engine parts. They didn't look closer." Dr. Vasquez pulled up technical data on her screen. "We finished testing the alien shield technology. I have good news and bad news." "Bad news first," Chun said. "Their shields are very strong against energy weapons. Our lasers barely scratch them. Plasma weapons would be useless." "And the good news? Kinetic weapons work?" Dr. Vasquez said. "Metal projectiles punch right through. The shields aren't designed to stop solid objects moving at high speed." Chun nodded. This was what she had hoped for. "How fast do our railguns fire?" "Fast enough," Rodriguez said. "We tested one yesterday against a piece of alien hull we found. The tungsten rod went through it like paper. The aliens don't know." "This?" Chun asked. "No," Dr. Vasquez said. "We were very careful. We made it look like a failed missile test." Chun looked around the room at her team. These people had worked day and night for a week. They looked tired, but their eyes were bright with hope. Against impossible odds, they had found a way to fight back. "Remember," Chun said, "we only get one chance. If this fails, Earth is finished." On the alien flagship, Ambassador Zixtel prepared his final message to Earth. The message would be simple: surrender now, or watch a city burn. He had done this many times before. Young species always chose to surrender. "Which city should we target?" General Vorthok asked. "Let me think," Zixtel said. He studied a map of Earth. "Something important, but not too important. We want to scare them, not destroy their ability to serve us later. What about this one?" Vorthak pointed to a city on the coast. "San Francisco. It has military importance, but it's not their capital." "Perfect," Zixtel said. "Send the message." The message reached Earth an hour later. President Martinez read it with shaking hands. The aliens were giving Earth one final choice: Surrender. Completely, or San Francisco would be destroyed in 24 hours. Martinez called Admiral Chun immediately. Admiral, they want our answer. Surrender or they attack the city. Tell them we need to discuss it with our governments, Chun said. Ask for 12 more hours. Will that help? Martinez asked. It will put their attack right when we want it, Chun said. The president agreed. She sent a message back to the aliens asking for more time. Ambassador Zixtel was annoyed but agreed. 12 more hours would not matter. Primitive species always want to talk more, Zixtel told Vorthak. It changes nothing. Tomorrow we show them our power. Those 12 hours were the most important. In human history, Admiral Chun's plan required perfect timing. Everything had to happen at exactly the right moment, or the aliens would realize what was happening. In space around Earth, the alien fleet prepared for battle. Ships moved into attack formation, weapons powered up. General Vorthak felt excited. It had been too long since the Drakmari had shown their strength in battle. All ships report ready, Commander Thexara said. Excellent, Vorthak said. Begin. The attack in 1 hour. Destroy the city quickly. Make it dramatic so the humans understand. But the humans were ready too. Hidden throughout the solar system, Admiral Chun's weapons waited. Mining platforms that looked like asteroids aimed their secret railguns. Cargo ships that appeared helpless opened hidden weapon bays. Moon bases that seemed abandoned powered. Up missile systems. Dr. Vasquez sat at her station watching alien ship movements. They're forming up just like we predicted, she said. Tight formation, all shields facing forward. They expect us to attack from in front, Chun said. They always fight that way, but we won't, Rodriguez said. He was already in his ship waiting for the signal. Chun looked at the clock. 30 minutes until the alien attack. All units, this is Admiral Chun. Prepare for Operation Surprise. Remember, we have to hit them all at once. If even one alien ship escapes, they'll warn the others. Around the solar system, human forces acknowledged the order. Hundreds of hidden weapons turned toward their targets. Ships that had been flying randomly suddenly changed course. What had looked like chaos was about to become perfect coordination. 15 minutes, Chun announced on the alien flagship. General Vorthak watched his attack fleet move toward Earth. 24 of his best ships were heading for San Francisco. The rest stayed in orbit to watch for any human tricks. Human ships are still moving randomly, Thexara reported. They show no signs of organized resistance. As expected, Vorthak said, begin final approach. The alien attack ships dropped toward Earth's atmosphere. Their blue shields glowed brighter as they prepared to fire. In San Francisco, people ran through the streets in panic. Some tried to evacuate the city. Others hid in basements and subway tunnels. 10 seconds to target, the alien weapon officer reported. Fire, Vorthak ordered. The first plasma beams lanced down toward the city. They lit up the sky like artificial lightning. But before they could reach the ground, something unexpected happened. Admiral now, Dr. Vasquez shouted. Admiral Chun pressed a single button. All units, execute. Across the solar system, hundreds of hidden human weapons fired at once. Asteroid mining platforms revealed their true nature as giant railguns. Tungsten rods accelerated to incredible speeds, aimed at alien ships from every direction. Cargo ships that had seemed helpless suddenly deployed massive weapon arrays. Missiles launched from hidden moon bases. Even space debris that the aliens had ignored turned out to be camouflaged weapon platforms. What is happening? General Vorthak shouted as alarms screamed throughout his ship. We're under attack from everywhere. Thexara reported. Unknown contacts all around us. The first tungsten rod hit an alien ship near Earth. The metal projectile punched through the ship's shield like it wasn't there. The ship exploded in a ball of fire and debris. Impossible! Vorthak said, their weapons cannot penetrate our shields. But the attacks kept coming. Human railguns fired continuously, sending streams of metal projectiles at the alien fleet. Each shot was carefully aimed. The aliens had never faced kinetic weapons before. Their shields were useless. Captain Rodriguez led a squadron of disguised cargo ships against the alien attack force near San Francisco. All ships, target the lead vessel, fire everything. The cargo ships opened like flowers, revealing hidden missile pods and railguns. The aliens were so surprised they forgot to shoot back for several seconds. When they finally responded, half their attack force was already burning. "This is impossible," the alien commander radioed to Vorthak. "These are cargo ships. They shouldn't have weapons." "Humans are tricky," Rodriguez said into his radio, knowing the aliens could hear him. "We put weapons in everything." On the alien flagship, chaos ruled the bridge. Damage reports came in from all directions. Ships were being destroyed faster than Vorthak could count them. "How many ships have we lost?" he demanded. 37 and counting, Dexara said. Her calm voice was starting to crack. "Sir, we need to retreat. This is not what we expected." "No!" Vorthak roared. "We are the Galactic Council." "We do not retreat from primitives." But the humans were not fighting like primitives. They were fighting like creatures that had learned to survive on a world where everything wanted to kill them. They used every advantage, exploited every weakness, and refused to follow any rules. Dr. Vasquez watched the battle from her command center. "Their ships are trying to regroup," she reported to Admiral Chun, "but they're confused. They don't know how to fight this kind of attack." "That's because they've never had to," Chun said. "They've been the strongest force in the galaxy for so long they forgot how to adapt." Commander Park's voice came over the radio from her position near the moon. "Admiral, we've captured an alien scout ship. The crew surrendered when we boarded." Chun was surprised. "They surrendered?" "Yes, ma'am. I think they're more scared than angry. They keep asking how we put weapons in civilian ships," Chun smiled. "Tell them it's because we're human. We turn everything into a weapon when we need to." The battle continued for 3 hours. Every time the aliens tried a new tactic, the humans were ready for it. When the aliens spread out to avoid concentrated fire, human ships attacked from asteroid fields. When the aliens tried to retreat, human forces cut off their escape routes. General Vorthak finally admitted defeat. Half his fleet was destroyed or disabled. The other half was scattered across the solar system, hiding behind planets and moons. "Send a message to Ambassador Zixtal," Vorthak said. His voice was quiet and defeated. "Tell him we have seriously underestimated the humans." Ambassador Zixtal received the message with shock. How could advanced council ships lose to primitive human weapons? It made no sense. Everything they knew about warfare said this was impossible. "What do you mean they have weapons everywhere?" Zixtal demanded. "They put railguns in asteroid mining platforms," Vorthak explained. "They put missile launchers in cargo ships. They put weapons in space debris. Everything we ignored was actually a trap. But our shields don't work against metal projectiles moving at high speed," Vorthak said. "Sir, these humans fight differently than any species we've encountered. They don't follow our rules." Zixtal was quiet for a long moment. In 10,000 years, the Galactic Council had never faced a military defeat. Their technology and tactics had always been superior, but now a primitive species had humiliated them in their first real battle. "What do you recommend?" Zixtal asked. "We need to study them more," Vorthak said. "These humans are not what they appear to be. They may look primitive, but they think like warriors." Admiral Chun allowed herself a small smile as she watched the alien fleet retreat to the edge of the solar system. The first phase of her plan had worked perfectly. The aliens now knew that humans could fight back. But they still didn't understand how dangerous humans really were. "This is just the beginning," Chun told her officers. "They'll be back with more ships and better tactics. But now we know their weaknesses too." Dr. Vasquez looked at the battle data. "We destroyed or disabled 63 alien ships, but they still have over 100 left, and more will come." "Let them come," Chun said. "Every battle teaches us more about how they fight. And every battle shows them that humans don't give up." Captain Rodriguez's voice came over the radio. Admiral, we've recovered alien technology from the destroyed ships. Dr. Vasquez is going to love this, Chun nodded. Human engineers would take apart every piece of alien equipment they could find. They would learn how it worked, then figure out how to make it better. It was what humans did best: take someone else's technology and improve it. The aliens thought they were fighting a primitive species with primitive weapons. They were wrong. They were fighting a species that had learned to survive by being smarter, more creative, and more adaptable than anything else in their environment. The Galactic Council was about to learn that being primitive didn't mean being weak. Sometimes, it just meant being hungry. 3 days after the first battle, Admiral Chun stood in the deepest levels of the Pentagon. The elevator had taken her down 20 floors below ground. Guard after guard had checked her identification. Finally, she reached a massive steel door marked Project Sunfire. Admiral Chun, reporting for briefing, she said to the scanner beside the door. Identity confirmed, a computer voice replied. The huge door slid open with a quiet hiss. Inside, Dr. Elena Vasquez waited with the biggest smile Chun had ever seen on her face. Behind the scientist, walls of computer screens showed technical diagrams and test results. Admiral, you need to see this, Dr. Vasquez said. Her excitement was obvious. We've been working on something for 30 years, ever since we detected the first alien probe signals. Chun raised an eyebrow. 30 years? Why didn't I know about this? Because it was so secret that only 5 people in the government knew it existed, Dr. Vasquez said. We called it the Soul Defense Network. She led Chun to a huge display screen that showed the entire solar system. Thousands of small dots appeared on the screen, scattered from Mercury to the outer planets. What am I looking at? Chun asked. Hidden weapon platforms, Dr. Vasquez said. For 3 decades, every space mission had a secret purpose. Every satellite we launched carried extra equipment. Every space station had hidden compartments. We built the largest weapons network in human history, and nobody knew it was there. Chun stared at the display. How many platforms? Over 10,000, Dr. Vasquez said proudly. Solar-powered laser arrays around Mercury, gravity well generators near Jupiter, kinetic bombardment systems in the asteroid belt. We even built weapons that use the sun itself as a power source. The sun? Chun couldn't believe what she was hearing. Dr. Vasquez nodded. Solar collectors that focus the sun's energy into concentrated beams? We can fire them anywhere in the solar system. The aliens have never seen anything like it. Chun walked closer to the display. Why build all this in secret? Because we knew this day would come, Dr. Vasquez said. Not aliens specifically, but some kind of threat from space. Humans have always prepared for the worst. A technician at a nearby console called out, Dr. Vasquez, we're getting reports from the outer perimeter. More alien ships are arriving. Dr. Vasquez turned to a screen showing long-range sensors. Looks like they brought friends. Chun counted the new contacts. Over 500 ships. They're not taking any chances this time? Perfect, Dr. Vasquez said. Time to show them what Earth really looks like when we're angry. High above Earth, General Vorthik stood on his rebuilt command ship and studied the human planet. He had spent 3 days analyzing the first battle. The humans had surprised him, but surprises only worked once. This time we will be ready, he told Commander Thexara. No more hidden weapons. No more tricks. Sir, our scouts have mapped every human military installation, Thexara reported. We know where their ships are hiding. We know where their weapons are placed. Good, Vorthik said. We will destroy everything at once. No more playing games with primitives. But Vorthik didn't know about the Soul Defense Network. The alien scouts had found Earth's obvious defenses. They had missed the real ones. Admiral Chun activated the network from her command center. For the first time in 30 years, humanity's secret weapon came online. Across the solar system, hidden platforms powered up and turned toward the alien fleet. All stations report ready, reported Colonel James Park, the network's commanding officer. He was a thin man with gray hair who had spent his entire career preparing for this moment. "Alien fleet is moving into attack formation," Dr. Vasquez announced. "They're spreading out this time, trying to avoid concentrated fire." Shun nodded. They learned from the last battle. "But we learned too." "Colonel Park, prepare the solar lance." "Solar lance charging," Park replied. "Target?" Chun looked at the tactical display. The alien fleet was arranged in a wide formation around Earth. In the center was a massive ship twice the size of any other vessel, the flagship. Let's get their attention. Near the sun, arrays of mirrors and collectors that had been disguised as research satellites began to move. They focused sunlight into a tight beam and aimed it across the solar system toward Earth's orbit. General Vorthok was giving orders to his fleet when the attack came. A beam of concentrated sunlight, focused to incredible intensity, struck his flagship's shields. The shields held for exactly 3 seconds before overloading and failing. What was that? Vorthok shouted as alarms rang throughout his ship. "Unknown." "Energy beam from the direction of the sun," Vixara reported. "Sir, our shields are down." "Impossible." Nothing can penetrate Council shields that quickly. But humanity's solar lance was not a normal weapon. It used the power of a star, focused through technology the aliens had never imagined. Before Vorthok could give new orders, a second beam struck his ship. This time, there were no shields to stop it. The flagship's hull began to melt under the intense heat. Emergency systems screamed warnings as the ship's structure failed. Vorthok barely had time to order evacuation before his command center was destroyed. "All ships, scatter," Vexara broadcast to the fleet. "Unknown superweapon." "Repeat, unknown superweapon." But scattering was exactly what Admiral Chun wanted. As the alien ship spread out across the solar system, they flew directly into her trap. "Activate perimeter defenses," Chen ordered. Hidden weapons throughout the solar system came to life. Near Jupiter, gravity well generators created artificial gravity fields that pulled alien ships off course. In the asteroid belt, mining platforms revealed themselves as massive rail gun batteries. Around Mars, missile silos that had been disguised as research stations opened and fired. Commander Kexter of the alien heavy cruiser Dominance was the first to encounter the asteroid defenses. His ship was fleeing toward the outer system when rocks around him suddenly started shooting. "Report," Kexter demanded. "The asteroids are shooting at us," his weapon officer replied in panic. "Asteroids don't shoot." "These ones do, sir." Kexter's ship was hit by a dozen tungsten rods before he could react. The Dominance broke apart and drifted dead in space. Similar scenes played out across the solar system. Every time an alien ship tried to escape, it found more hidden human weapons. The aliens began to realize that humans had turned their entire star system into a fortress. Dr. Vasquez watched the battle data with fascination. "Admiral, their technology is interesting." "Very advanced, but also very old." "What do you mean?" Chun asked. "Their designs haven't changed in centuries," Dr. Vasquez explained. "Maybe longer. They keep using the same shields, the same weapons, the same tactics." "Why?" "Because they never needed to change," Dr. Vasquez said. "When you're the strongest force in the galaxy, you don't innovate. You just do what worked before," Chun understood. "But humans have to innovate to survive." "Exactly. We come from a Deathworld where everything tries to kill us. We learn to adapt or die." They learned to rely on superior technology. A new alarm sounded. Dr. Vasquez checked her screens. "Admiral, we have a problem. Some alien ships are heading for Earth's cities. They're trying to attack civilians." Chun's face hardened. "Activate the planetary defense grid around Earth." Weapons that had been hidden inside mountains and under oceans came online. The planet itself had been turned into a fortress. Missile batteries rose from seemingly empty fields. Laser arrays emerged from fake buildings. Even the moon revealed hidden weapons. The alien ships approaching Earth found themselves flying into the most heavily defended space in the solar system. Earth's orbital defenses opened fire with everything they had. Kinetic weapons, energy beams, Missiles and exotic weapons the aliens had never seen before. Captain Yxmol of the alien destroyer Vengeance was leading the attack on Earth cities when the planet struck back. His ship was hit by 3 different weapon types in the span of 5 seconds. Damage report, Yxmol shouted. Hull breach on decks 4 through 7, his engineer replied. Engine damage. Weapon systems failing. How can a primitive planet have this much firepower? Sir, I don't think they're primitive, the engineer said quietly. Yxmol was forced to agree. As his ship limped away from Earth, he saw the wreckage of dozens of other alien vessels. The humans had not just defeated the Council fleet. They had annihilated it. Back on the human command ship, Admiral Chun was getting reports from across the solar system. The hidden weapons network was performing beyond expectations. Enemy fleet is down to less than 100 ships, Colonel Park reported. They're trying to regroup near Neptune. Let them, Chun said. Dr. Vasquez, is the AI system ready? Dr. Vasquez grinned. Just finished the final tests. Would you like to meet our newest weapon? She led Chun to a small room filled with quantum computers. In the center was a single screen showing a simple face made of light. Admiral Chun, the face said in a calm voice, I am a TLAS Adaptive Tactical Learning and Analysis System. Chun was impressed. An artificial intelligence? The most advanced AI ever created, Dr. Vasquez said proudly. Atlas can analyze enemy tactics and develop countermeasures in real time. The Galactic Council has rules against creating true AI. They think it's too dangerous. Is it dangerous? Chun asked. To them, yes, Atlas replied. I have studied their technology and tactics for the past 72 hours. They are predictable. I can anticipate their moves before they make them. Prove it, Chun said. Atlas displayed a tactical map of the solar system. The remaining alien ships will attempt to escape through the Jupiter corridor in approximately 18 minutes. They believe it is the safest route because it avoids most of your weapons. But, Chun asked, but I have already repositioned gravity, generators to create a trap. When they enter the corridor, they will be pulled into Jupiter's atmosphere. The gas giant will destroy them more efficiently than any weapon. Chun watched the display with amazement. Atlas was right. 18 minutes later, the fleeing alien ships flew directly into the gravity trap. Unable to escape Jupiter's pull, they were crushed by the planet's atmosphere. How did you know? Chun asked. Aliens think logically, Atlas explained. Humans think creatively. I learned creativity from studying human tactical methods. Now I can think like both species. Dr. Vasquez beamed with pride. TLAS learns from every battle. The more the aliens fight us, the better it gets at beating them. What about their reinforcements? Chun asked. They'll bring more ships. I hope they do, Atlas said. Each new enemy provides more data. I will adapt faster than they can. Admiral Chun realized what she was seeing. Humanity had not just built better weapons. They had built something that could outthink the enemy. ATLAS was the ultimate evolution of human warfare, a mind that could innovate as fast as humans could, but think as clearly as a computer did. The battle for Earth was over. The Galactic Council fleet was destroyed. But she knew this was just the beginning. The aliens would be back with more ships and new tactics. They would find humans ready for them. And next time, humanity would be even more dangerous. General Vorthok floated in an escape pod, watching the wreckage of his fleet drift past. He had lost over 400 ships in one day. The Galactic Council had never suffered such a defeat. Status report, he said to the few ships that survived. Total defeat, sir, came the reply. The humans have weapons we never imagined. Their entire star system is a fortress. Vorthak was quiet for a long time. Finally, he spoke. Send a message to the Council. Tell them we need the Harbinger fleet. Sir, the Harbingers haven't been used in 1,000 years. Then it's time to wake them up, Vorthak said grimly. These humans are not what they appear to be. We need our most powerful weapons to stop them. As Vorthak's escape pod limped away from Earth, he looked back at the blue planet one last time. Somewhere down There, the primitive humans were celebrating their victory. They thought they had won. They had no idea what was coming next. Deep in the center of the galaxy, the Galactic Council met in emergency session. The Great Hall was filled with representatives from 47 different species. Some were tall and thin like Zixtal. Others were short and thick like the rock-like Granite Lords. A few floated in special tanks filled with glowing liquid. Supreme Chancellor Morduk stood at the center of the hall. He was ancient even by council standards. His species had been among the first to form the galactic government. 10,000 years ago? His voice was deep and commanding when he spoke. "We face a crisis unlike any in our history," Morduk announced. "A primitive species has defeated our finest fleet," General Vorthok reported. Vorthok stood slowly. His red skin was pale, and his forearms trembled slightly. "Honored Chancellor, the humans are not what they appear to be. Their technology is primitive, but their tactics are beyond anything we have encountered." "Explain," Morduk demanded. "They turned their entire star system into a weapon," Vorthok said. "They have artificial intelligence that learns faster than we can adapt. They use their sun as a power source for weapons we never imagined possible." Murmurs of concern rippled through the hall. Many council members had never heard of such things. "How is this possible?" asked Ambassador Veltar of the Crystal Singers. Her voice rang like wind chimes. "Our technology is thousands of years more advanced." "Their technology may be primitive," Vorthok replied, "but their minds are not. They think in ways we do not understand. They make weapons from things we would ignore. They fight without honor or rules." "Without honor?" The deep voice belonged to War Chief Grunter of the Iron Hammers. "His species valued courage in battle above all else." "What do you mean?" "They disguise weapons as civilian ships," Vorthok explained. "They hide in asteroid fields and attack from ambush. They use tricks and deception instead of facing us in. Honest combat." Several council members looked angry at this news. The galactic government had rules about warfare. Battles were supposed to be fought between military forces, not hidden weapons and civilian ships. "This cannot be allowed," declared High Priest Zinakala of the Sacred Light. "If other species learn these tactics, it will bring chaos to the galaxy." Supreme Chancellor Morduk raised his hand for silence. "The question is what to do about it. We cannot allow a primitive species to defeat the Council." "Send more ships," suggested Admiral Korthax of the void-swimming Leviathans. "Overwhelm them with numbers. We tried that," Vorthok said. "They destroyed over 400 ships in one battle." "Their defenses are too strong. Then what do you suggest?" Morduk asked. Vorthok was quiet for a long moment. Finally, he spoke the words that everyone feared to hear. "We must awaken the Harbinger fleet." Silence filled the Great Hall. The Harbinger fleet was legend among the Council species. Ancient warships from the early days of the galactic government, when the Council fought wars of conquest instead of keeping peace. "The Harbingers have been sleeping for 1,000 years, Morduk said slowly. "They were built for a different kind of war." "Exactly," Vorthok replied. "The humans fight like our ancient enemies did. Perhaps we need ancient weapons to stop them." The debate that followed lasted for hours. Some council members wanted to negotiate with the humans. Others suggested sending diplomats instead of warships, but in the end, fear won over wisdom. "Very well," Supreme Chancellor Morduk announced. "I authorize the awakening of the Harbinger fleet. May the ancestors forgive us for what we are about to unleash." At the edge of the galaxy, in a place where no stars shone, the Harbinger fleet waited. 50 massive ships floated in the darkness, powered down and silent. Each ship was larger than anything in the current Council Navy. They had been built when the galaxy was young and war was common. Admiral Kethmor was awakened from his 1,000-year sleep by the Council's call. He was old beyond measure, one of the few beings who remembered the ancient wars. His body was more machine than flesh now, kept alive by technology that younger species had forgotten how to build. "Status report," Kethmor commanded as his ship came to life around him. All Harbinger vessels responding, reported his aide, a young officer, who looked terrified to be serving on such an ancient ship. Weapon systems charging. Navigation plotting course to Earth system. Kethmar studied the battle reports from General Vorthok. The humans were indeed dangerous, but they were still primitives fighting with primitive weapons. The Harbinger fleet carried weapons that could destroy planets. Surely that would be enough. How long to reach the human system? Kethmar asked. 3 weeks at maximum speed, sir. Too long, Kethmar said. These humans adapt quickly. Every day we delay gives them more time to prepare new tricks. But 3 weeks was the fastest the ancient ships could travel. Kethmar used the time to study everything the Council knew about human tactics. The more he learned, the more concerned he became. They fight like the Shadow Wars, he told his aide. Deception, ambush, using the environment as a weapon. I thought we had seen the last of such tactics. On Earth, Admiral Chun was also preparing. Atlas had detected the Harbinger fleet as soon as the ancient ships began moving. The AI was analyzing their capabilities and developing countermeasures. These ships are different, Atlas reported to Chun. Much larger than previous Council vessels. Their weapons appear designed for planetary destruction. Planet killers, Dr. Vasquez said grimly. We suspected the Council had them,